data or is this code? So we have simplified the problem, okay, the whole buffer overflow problem to this now. Okay, does it contain code? Does it contain data? Problem to solve, distinguish code from data. So this is the work of SIG-Free, and they have published the SIG-Free work in the Usenext conference. So again, I can give reference to their work, Peng Liu and Xunshen Chen, and that's I don't know which year. I think it was published sometime 2003 or 4. Okay, so a signature-free buffer overflow attack blocker. It was Usenext Security, July 2006. So it was published last year. Okay, so we found that work quite interesting, and so I won't go into their this sort of describes their algorithm, which we have briefly summarized in our papers. So our solution again is we are using SIG-Free, part of the SIG-Free code, as a disassembly program, because we cannot use these commercial tools for the disassembly, because commercial tools assume that, or the tools out there assume that there is a header in the executable files. But in this malicious code, there is not a header. So SIG-Free, the interesting thing about SIG-Free is that it can make these assumptions and with fairly high accuracy transfer the code into assembly code. So apply data mining, formulate the problem as a classification problem. Is it code or data? Collect a set of training examples containing both instances. Again, train the data and we test the model. Okay. So the code blocker model that we have developed, same thing, training data, we extract features, then train the features, with a classifier. And classifier, we use the support vector machine, which we have made some modifications that my colleague had developed with one of his former PhD students called DGSOT, some technique he has developed, and that paper is what it's accepted in the very large database journal. And so we are using that technique, the tool that we have, to do the classification, because in some of our previous papers we have shown it has a higher level of accuracy. Once you develop the model, we do the testing data, feature extraction, test against the model, and then it will predict the class. Again, same thing, feature extraction is a challenge. So feature extraction with the training data, we use disassembly with SIG-Free, okay, because we couldn't use the other tools out there. And then we do the feature collection with Ngram and control flow, and feature selection. Again, our feature selection is based on the information gain, and information gain is computed based on the entropy. Okay, essentially we are selecting the best features and disregarding some of the other features. And then for the testing, when an incoming request comes in, we do the disassembly and we compute the feature values of the features and then compute the feature set. And that will then tell us, is it yes or no? Is it code or is it data? Okay, so we apply SIG-Free tool, which was implemented by Xinran Wang, who is a student of Peng Liu. Is it? Yeah. Or with his assistant professor, I don't know. He's at Penn State. And essentially what the tool will give us is taking the machine code, it will tell us, it will output the assembly code. So whether it's code or data, okay, if it's code, then the assembly code makes sense. If it is data, of course, we get kind of garbage when we translate the data into assembly code. So that's SIG-Free, and we describe that in the paper. Okay, so features are extracted using Ngram analysis. At the same time, we also are doing control flow analysis when the programs are jumping. So for instance, if you use an Ngram, then it's based on this the sequence, right, from 0, 2, 4, 6, 9, and ACE. But if you look at control flow, once you come to number 6, right, then we go to number 9. Okay, so once you can either go to from number 9, you can either jump to A or you can jump to C. Okay, so we take the control flow into consideration in generating the 2 grams. So 2 grams now becomes 0, 2, 2, 4, and then you can see towards the end, it it gets 4, 6, and after 6, it can come to either 6, 9A, or it can go to 9C, and then it goes to CE. Okay, so we take the control flow into consideration of the program, and control flow based engrams analysis. Okay, so that's okay. So if we are using data, okay, and we generate the assembly code, we get statements like invalid memory reference, or undefined register, or invalid jump target, or we get things like memory reference is outside the register, or check if the register value is set properly. So we get all kinds of error messages. These are the features if it's for data. But if it's for code, then we'll get the assembly language instructions. Why engram analysis? Similar to what we said earlier, and again, what Malouf's paper, intuition, disassembled executables should have a different pattern of instruction usage than disassembled data. Okay, again, the whole idea is if it has data, it's not malicious. If it's code, then it's malicious. So that's the assumption. Why control flow analysis? The intuition, there should be no invalid memory references or invalid jump targets. So when we talk about code, so putting it all together, so the system computes all possible engrams, and then you select the best k of them using the entropy method, and then computing the feature vector for each training example and supply these vectors to the training algorithm. Okay, so the experiments, let's see, we used several data sets from various websites. Okay, Dataset has real traces of normal messages, real attack messages, and some polymorphic shellcodes. And I really don't quite understand what my student meant by the polymorphic shellcodes. Based on reading the paper, it seems like it's it's just another sort of types of data sets. And training and testing, we used support vector machine with the DGSOT that we built in, slightly modified, which was published in an earlier paper. And we had so many, with the different data sets, we had so many training cases and so many test cases. Okay, so let's look at the results. We have the control flow measure, control flow based engram feature. Okay, so comparing performance of CFBN features for different n, as n varies. Okay, for the control flow based engram feature, and the other one just the control flow feature without the engrams. Okay, so we looked at the two methods, and then we are looking at the false accuracy, the false positives, and the false negatives. And as you can see, the accuracy, the control flow based engram feature performed much better. Now, we also looked at sig-free only. Okay, we took the sig-free tool that was developed at Penn State and used our tool, and then we find that our performances in terms of combined accuracy, ours was significantly better than Siegfried. And it's actually co-authored with Peng Liu and those who developed Siegfried, and they agree also. Okay, and then in terms of false positives, we are about the same. They had 0 false positives, we had 0.3. In terms of false negatives, our techniques seemed much better than Siegfried had 61.3% false negative. Okay, so, and again, for them co-authoring the paper with us, and that was very important for them to co-author, so they agreed with the results that we have obtained. So then what is our contribution? Again, a lot of these contributions that we have, this particular part of the research is sort of very applied research. Okay, it's not, we haven't sort of, proved theorems or, looked at the complexity. It is very, very much an experimental analysis, and the nature, opposed to some of our game theory and our dynamic trust level, because this particular professor is very much, very interested in, developing tools and techniques and conducting applied research. We introduced the notion of control flow based engram. We combine control flow analysis with data mining to detect code, and we have made significant improvements over other methods. So again, the novelty